So, welcome to Honestly. I am so excited to start this YouTube show where just me, myself, and I will be talking about different topics that I would choose for every single week. Every Thursday, I will be releasing a new episode, just in time for y'all and myself and y'all to kick it together, essentially. You know, and it's not a political show, but we might discuss it. It's not a niche kind of a show where I would just sit on a single kind of a genre of a topic and then, kind of like rolling that butter. No, I feel like this show should be about realistic experiences and things that people in general would be interested in or maybe not interested at all, and that's okay, honestly. But at the same time, I don't want this show to feel like it's just some sort of a um um what is the word I'm looking for? What is the word I'm looking for? Pretentious. How funny is that? um so, and like, why would you even listen to me, right? Like, that question. I'm not a scientist. I'm not some sort of a, expert in like geopolitics or, physics or science or pop culture or music or comedy or anything at all, really. I feel like I'm just yet another podcaster who is like, has no kind of a degree behind them. But the thing is, and those of you who know me, actually know me, you know that I'm wise. Usually I'm wise, but not always. And that's honestly also okay. I already have several episodes lined up for you guys. And okay, but what are we going to talk about this week? We're going to be talking about Lady Gaga. And why, one might ask? Well, because indeed I am a fan. As you can tell. But you guys, it's not just about her and, me being a fan of Lady Gaga. It's about how artistry of one or several artists has an impact. And I think this is where the honestly begins in a way, because we're not just going to be talking about how, oh my God, she's so talented, which she actually fucking is. Like, honey, this woman has what, like 14 Grammys. She has a countless amount of other awards. She has an Oscar for the best like song. Her album Mayhem is getting all of the praise. It is her most acclaimed album yet, which is amazing because, like, this woman, she actually once said this interesting thing decades and decades, well, not decades and decades ago, but like years and years ago. And she said something along the lines that you're not supposed to understand me now. You'll understand me in 15 years from now or like 10 years from now. And that's the thing. That's exactly what's happened with this album, Mayhem. I'm so excited that I have this. I think I accidentally smudged it, so don't look closely at the cover. How dare you? Um, but it's just I'm so excited for this album. But we're not just going to talk about Mayhem and Lady Gaga again, but we're going to talk about how back in the day, when I was a child, growing up in Russia, how this woman and her artistry impacted my self-esteem, my ability to find myself in a lot of ways. I feel like Mayhem is like an evolution of Born This Way. I would say sonically, and not even sonically, because like this is a kaleidoscope of everything. Like, this is Mayhem. But anyway, I'm not veering off the topics. Also, I've realized that ever since I moved to Los Angeles, I've started acquiring the, California voice. So I'm trying to make an effort to actually not use vocal fry when I speak or sing or talk or whatever. So let me drink some water. So maybe some ASMR for you. I don't know. I don't know if y'all heard anything. No, not me like talking to the straw. But anyway, so let's begin with the fact that, again, as I said, I'm a gay person who grew up in Russia, and I remember back in 2008, that was when I first discovered her. It was actually on my birthday is when I like heard her song, and I remember it vividly. Imagine this. I'm in my childhood bedroom. I have this small, old, kind of a like a square TV. I think it was Panasonic. I don't know if Panasonic exists anymore, but it was this like old, like one of those chunky big TVs, not flat. Like we're talking about 2008. And I was flickering through like channels. Remember that? Like you click a button. Oh, and the music video for Just Dance popped up, and on Russian MTV. Yes, we had MTV. Um, but I didn't know that it was Lady Gaga. I had no idea it was her because I've missed the little thing they had at the bottom of the screen that would say who is the person and what is the song and like a bunch of credits and whatnot. And I was like listening to the song, and I was like, oh my god. And again, it was Just Dance. If you look at the music video right now, you'll be like, it's like not that much, you know? But to me, it was like, whoa, who is this woman? She just walked on some dude. Who is this crazy blonde woman who is like in the pool with this fucking weird rubber dolphin, and like she has like disco ball bras and whatnot? I was like, whoa. And I realized that the video was about to end, and I wanted to like make it a little louder to like catch more of a glimpse of the song, because I knew that I'm about to see who the person is and whatnot, the credits. And my dumbass, I remember it vividly. Um, I pushed the wrong button, so I flickered to another channel. And you do not understand when I say, oh, honey, it's not like I could just click back and I am instantly back on MTV. No, honey. You click once, it takes a couple seconds to get to there. You click back, it takes a couple seconds to go back. So 4 seconds essentially of me going and back and forth, and you don't see the screen. It like passes out for a bit, for like a moment. Um, and by the time I got back to the video to MTV, it was already another video playing. And I was furious. I was like, excuse me, you know, like. Ugh. But here is the thing: my neighbor at the time, this kid, we practically like we grew up in the same building. Like, he was the fan of Lady Gaga. He no longer is, apparently, which is whatever, which is whatever. Because I told him, I was like, I saw this song, blah blah blah, and he's like, you're describing Lady Gaga's Just Dance. And that was, the rest is history, essentially. um and you know, and I just dived straight into Lady Gaga's in her artistry. She, like, I always followed like a lot of American pop music. Like, I grew up on pop music. One of the first well, actually, the first Western album that I've ever gotten was Confessions on the Dance Floor by Madonna. And I still to this day listen to this album, and it's amazing. And then, you know, I went on to Black Eyed Peas, I went on to Fergie, Britney Spears, you know, a bunch of other like American bands, Pink. I still love Pink. Um, and then when Lady Gaga popped on my radar, I was like, okay. And to this day, her music every year is number one on my like replay. You know how Apple Music does replay every year? But point is, she's a continuously ever evolving artist. She's like a chameleon. And, you know, I also still am actually very much of a fan of David Bowie. And David Bowie is, oh, honey, point is, David Bowie also is known to be a chameleon of music and visuals and meaning, and how he would approach songwriting, like lyrically, you know. And I saw a lot of that in Lady Gaga. I saw a lot of that in her, because I was like, I can like sense that. I could sense that. And again, you know, being in Russia, you know, not having access to what I saw on TV, seeing that was just like fireworks in my head, fireworks. And I was like, I need to get into her music, like dive into it head on. And that's what I did, you know. And ever since 2008, I became a fan, and I was bullied for it. I'm a little monster, like for life, of like, well, you'll do the math of how long, but point is, I am just to this day in awe of how well and how dramatic and chameleonic this woman is. I I mean, I am gay, as you all know, right? And I was born gay, contrary to some of like bitches' opinions. And people would bully me quite a lot, also because I had a kind of like higher voice. Like my voice didn't break for a little while, so people just assumed that's because I'm gay, which they were correct. They were correct. It's just, honey, it's just, you know. And her music was this way of escaping, of finding a way to feel emotions, to like there was one song on Born This Way album called Hair, and there is this one line in there where she says like she screams, "Mom and Dad, why can't I be myself?" or something along those lines. And she performed this song a couple of times as an acoustic version, a piano version. Oh my god, that song, it made me cry because it always made me feel like she could relate to me. I could relate to her music and she could relate to me. So that alone, like that song, that album, the her visuals, everything, I was just like, I could relate to it. And I felt this sensational desire to split in a way from reality, right? Because, you know, being bullied, being gay, not being able to come out, hiding it from absolutely everybody, including my family and my closest of friends. Um, it was rough. It was really rough. So, and of course, Russians to this day really don't really believe in therapy. So obviously, I didn't go to any therapy. The school counselor I had was nobody, actually. I don't think we even had a school counselor. So, you know, music was always that escape for me. And in her music is where I found that escape. Her artistry is like this North Star worth following for me. And interestingly enough, you know, we're talking about Born This Way, and that album helped me find my strength, find a way to create a better version of myself. Chic Shot, you know? Well, Chic Shot is me. It's my stage name. And seeing that Lady Gaga did it and some other artists did it, like David Bowie, you know, I was just like, okay, it's a safe way for me to feel safe without hurting too much. But where was I? Where was I? Hi, Harley Quinn. Let's talk about Harley Quinn for just a moment. Last year, in 2024, this album turned out to be my number one album of the year, despite the fact that Brad was literally just a few listens away. This album is just amazing. If you haven't listened to it, it's jazz album. It's a album that she did in support of her movie Joker, Folie à Deux. I think Folie à Deux. I think that's how you say it. And I mean, we know Joker flopped, unfortunately. Even though I actually really enjoyed Joker, I don't understand why y'all been so bitchy about it. But point is, she wasn't done with the character, so she covered each and every song that appeared in the movie in her own way. And this is a beautiful jazz album that I think y'all should check out. There's also an original song there called Happy Mistake that I was fortunate enough to see her perform live here at Jimmy Kimmel, here in Hollywood, you know. Anyway, so, and again, this woman is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The vocals. By the way, the vocal growth, the best vocals on this album. She has outdone herself yet again. That's the thing, like, I guess I really do value in her as an artist, and kind of wish I had more of that in me, you know, the discipline and the ability to just like lock in and commit to the craft despite anything that anyone would tell her. You know, there's this documentary that she's done a few years back called Gaga 5'2". Um, she talks about how, you know, the industry, the people, the audiences, the whatevers put so much pressure onto her to look like sexy and whatever, whatever. And, you know, she would always put her spin on it, you know, like a meat dress, or like a dress that is just all spikes and it's all balloony spikes, and or she's wearing a bunch of what is that cartoonish frog, this green fucking frog that's, you know, ugh. Or she would wear Hello Kitty all over her, or she would wear God knows what else. And by the way, we all know famously the shoes, you know, the one sec, the shoes. Well, these are stripper shoes. She also has them, and she obviously has them like in a trillion pairs of these. But anyway, the shoes, right? She was known and is known, well, was known to wear the most extravagant and the most avant-garde shoes. I've seen this woman just a few times in my life. Cut twice, as I said. I saw her live, but then I saw her at this place actually once called. Let me tell you. So I saw her in 2016, the night after Trump won his first term. We're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. And she was at this bar in West Village in New York City called Fat Cat. Oh my God, that was one of my favorite places in all of New York City. And I was there and I was like, oh my God, she's there too. And I got to like meet her and just, you know, say a few words. And I realized at some point that I have not met an idol. I have met a friend. I actually yelled at her too. I yelled at her when she was leaving. It was actually magical because I was kind of like following her, and her security was like, step back a bit, like we're not friends. You know what I'm saying? Like she doesn't. I don't think she remembers me. I don't think she would. But I was kind of walking behind her, and I realized that shit, I should have said more, whatever. And you know, as she got into her car, this big ass car, it was like this big Escalade, one of those like big SUVs. And I yelled essentially one of like a phrase like, one day you and I are gonna sing together. And let me tell you, to this day I remember it vividly, how she rolled up the window with a smile on her face. She rolled up the window and like, you know, just like left. And to this day I'm like, okay, did she like smile in a way like, of course honey, yes we will honey, yes, or in a way like, you know? So it's like one of those moments. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say honestly is that by doing this episode, I wanted to explore how she influenced my life. And I think there's so much that I could have dived into, but this is just the first episode, you know? But if you wanted to take away something from this episode, take this. being a fan is a beautiful thing. Being able to follow an artist and see yourself in their artistry is a magical experience, and I genuinely feel lucky to have that experience. Sometimes I look back and think like what would have happened had this artist not showed up on that day on the TV? You know, all these what ifs. And I think what I've learned from this woman is the fact that you don't really need to focus on what if. Focus on what you want to do and go there and do it. And honestly, that's the vibe. You know, she really is the vibe. She is the moment. And to wrap things up, because I feel like we should be wrapping things up, honey. I feel like, discipline is one of the key things that got her to where she is. And I don't really have that. I don't really have that. And that's okay. Because on the next episode, we will talk about the worst of the topics. The worst of the topics. The worst of the topics. We're going to be talking about procrastination and how the fuck it took me 6 months to get to this. This has been fun. Me, myself, and I. Just actually kind of weird. Let's talk about this for just one moment, and I think I'll keep it in the cut. We'll see. It's kind of weird to just sit here in front of like cameras, 2 cameras, my cats, my laptop, bunch of equipment that you don't really see, some water that, by the way, I didn't really even sip. Well, barely. And like record and like talk to myself. But hey, if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't, also let me know. And if you are like neutral, also let me know, like in the comments. Or at least give a like, or like subscribe, or whatever. Please do something. This has been fun. Thank you. Bye. See you next time. See you next week. Bye. Bye. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye. 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 Bye.